How long does it take a husband to plan stealing from his own wife? For Daniel, the answer was sitting on the bank table in front of me. He slid a pen across the table and told me it was just routine paperwork. His mother sat beside him, already watching my face. His bookkeeper, Tessa, kept her laptop open like she had done this before. Then I looked down. My name was already on the page. My address. The exact property description for the duplex my mother left me, the house that was supposed to help pay for my daughter's college. Daniel was putting it up as collateral for a loan I had never approved. But that was not the worst part. Right beside my name was a blue notary stamp dated last Tuesday. I looked at Daniel, my fingers tightening around the pen, and asked, "Why is my name already notarized on something I never signed?" For a second, nobody at the table moved. The loan officer stopped flipping pages. My mother-in-law's hand tightened around her purse strap. Daniel looked at the paper, then at me like I had just embarrassed him in front of the wrong people. "It's a mistake," he said. He reached for the packet, but I kept my palm on it. The paper was still warm from the printer. A blue tab at the bottom read, "Spousal Consent." Under that was the property description for my duplex in Carolina Beach. Lot number, parcel number, street address. My mother's house, sitting inside my husband's loan packet like it belonged to him. We were inside Cape Fear Community Bank in Wilmington, in a conference room with frosted glass walls and coffee no one had touched. Daniel had picked the time Thursday morning after my shift at the community college and before his contractor meeting. His mother, Elaine, sat beside him in a cream jacket, quiet enough to look harmless. Tessa Vale, his bookkeeper, sat near the end of the table with her laptop open. Tessa had known me for years. School fundraisers, contractor dinners, Christmas drop-ins. She was the kind of woman who hugged you with one arm and looked over your shoulder with both eyes. The loan officer, Carter Bell, cleared his throat. "Mrs. Whitcomb, it may have been pre-filled for convenience." "Pre-filled is one thing," I said. "Notarized is another." Daniel let out a short laugh. "Mara, come on. Don't turn a typo into a crime scene." That was the first dirty thing he said. Not loud. Not cruel enough for anyone else to catch. Just sharp enough to tell me the mistake was mine now. I looked at the stamp again. The notary was Paula Riggs. I knew that name. She worked part-time in Elaine's office, answered phones, witnessed vendor forms, and took checks to the bank when the company got busy. I had not met Paula Riggs last Tuesday. Last Tuesday, I had been at the community college until 5:30, fixing student records someone had entered under the wrong term code. I remembered because Daniel had called that afternoon and asked where I kept the spare key to my file cabinet. I thought he needed the insurance binder. Now I looked at the packet again. Elaine leaned forward, voice soft. She used that voice when she wanted strangers to think she was the reasonable one. "Mara, honey, no one is trying to upset you. Daniel is under a lot of pressure with Harbor House. I'm reading the page. You're reacting." I looked at her. She did not blink. The consent form did not just mention Daniel's business. It named my duplex as additional collateral. It used the trust address, not the mailing address Daniel always got wrong. Whoever prepared the packet knew exactly what they wanted. Carter shifted in his chair. "We can pause this and get clarification from closing." "No," Daniel said. "Too fast." Tessa's laptop made a soft click. I looked up. Her screen had gone dark. She folded her hands over it and gave me that school fundraiser face, the one that said she was worried but not surprised. Daniel lowered his voice. "This loan keeps the company moving. You know that. What I know," I said, "is that my mother's duplex is in your loan. Our loan number." His jaw tightened. I had seen that look before, usually when a subcontractor questioned a number or when Hannah challenged him at dinner. Daniel liked questions if he could answer them. He hated questions that stayed on the table. He leaned closer. "It's family property. It's inherited property." Carter reached for the file again, slower this time. He turned back 2 pages and read the collateral schedule for himself. His face changed when he reached the notary block. I had spent years reading paperwork people ignored. Deeds, title transfers, old liens, bad dates, wrong initials. Daniel used to joke that I could find a missing comma in a tornado. He said it like a cute flaw until the morning he needed me not to notice one. Mrs. Whitcomb Carter said, "Would you like us to reschedule?" Daniel's chair scraped the floor. "That isn't necessary." "It is," I said. I slid the pen back across the table, not toward Daniel. Into the middle, where everyone could see I had not used it. Elaine sighed through her nose. "Mara, you're making this harder than it needs to be." I looked at the notary stamp again, then at Tessa's closed laptop, then at Daniel's hand still hovering near the packet. "Then make it easy," I said. "Show me the full collateral file." Carter did not answer right away. He looked at Daniel first. That told me more than I wanted to know. Tessa opened her laptop again, but not fast enough. I saw the corner of a folder on her screen. It was labeled Harbor House Closing. Under it was another folder. My initials were on it. I made it to the parking lot before my hands started shaking. Not in the room, not in front of Daniel, not in front of Elaine and Tessa with their neat faces and clean folders. The shaking waited until I was alone in my car with the door locked. My phone lit up. "Daniel." I let it ring. Then a text came in. "Don't make this bigger than it is." I stared at those words until they stopped looking like words. That was Daniel's gift. He could do something wrong, then make the size of the problem my fault. If I asked questions, I was difficult. If I got upset, I was dramatic. If I refused to sign, I was hurting the family. I typed, "Tell me you didn't know about the notary stamp." Then I deleted it. I typed, "Did you go into my file cabinet?" Deleted that too. Finally, I put the phone face down and cried for about 30 seconds. Not pretty crying. No soft movie tears. Just one ugly break in my chest that came out before I could stop it. Then it was gone, and I hated that I had to wipe my face before I drove home. The duplex had been my mother's. It was not some beach mansion. It was a 2-unit rental with old blue bathroom tile, a porch that needed repainting every spring, and a back door that stuck when the weather got wet. My mother bought it after my father left. She said every woman should have one thing no man could gamble, sell, or temporarily borrow. At the time, I thought she was being dramatic. After she died, the rent from that duplex paid taxes, repairs, and most of Hannah's college account. Hannah was 17. She worked weekends at the aquarium gift shop, rolled her eyes at college brochures, and pretended she did not care about money because she knew I did. Daniel called the duplex an asset. I called it the last useful thing my mother put in my hands. When I got home, I went straight to the guest room and opened the file cabinet. The second drawer sat a little too neat. Daniel never closed drawers like that. He left them half open like the house existed to finish his motions for him. The green folder was still there. My mother's trust. But the paperclip had been moved. That was enough. I took the folder to the dining table and left it open. Daniel came home at 7:15, smelling like sawdust and truck leather. Hannah was in the kitchen making toast because she had to leave for a school volunteer meeting. Daniel kissed the top of her head like nothing was wrong, then saw the trust folder on the table. His face tightened. "Really?" That was his first word. Not sorry, not let me explain, not the bank messed up. Really. "You went into my file cabinet," I said. "I needed insurance paperwork." The trust folder was moved. He glanced at Hannah. She stopped buttering toast. Daniel lowered his voice. "Can we not do this in front of her?" I hated that it worked. Hannah looked at me, then at him. "Do what?" "Nothing," Daniel said quickly. "Your mom is upset about a bank form." I should have stopped him there. I should have said it was not nothing. I should have said a bank form with my mother's property on it was not a family mood problem. But Hannah's face had gone small. She had been listening to college costs, contractor stress, and Daniel's late-night calls for months. I saw the tiredness in her eyes. So I swallowed it. Daniel saw me swallow it. He walked to his briefcase and pulled out a single page. "Look," he said. "Forget the bank meeting for a second. Carter just needs permission to verify the property records and insurance. That's all. It doesn't pledge anything." He slid the paper across the table. "Property verification release, not consent, not collateral, not deed of trust. Just permission for the bank to confirm records connected to the Carolina Beach property." I read the top half. Hannah stood 3 feet away, toast untouched on her plate. Daniel said softer, "Payroll is due next week. I'm not asking you to sign the loan. I'm asking you not to freeze the whole company because of one clerical screw-up." I looked at him. "Does this put the duplex in your loan?" "Number." "Does it let them use it as collateral?" "Number." "Does it replace the consent page?" "No, Mara. It verifies records. That's it." He said my name like I was being embarrassing again. Hannah whispered, "Mom." That was the crack. Not Daniel. Not Elaine. Hannah. I did not want her to remember that night as the night her parents tore each other open over money. I did not want to be the mother who turned every dinner into a courtroom. So I signed. 1 page, one small, stupid, tired signature. Daniel took it before the ink had fully dried. "Thank you," he said. I hated how relieved he sounded. Hannah left 10 minutes later. Daniel took a call on the porch. I stood at the sink, staring at my own hands. I had not signed the consent page. I told myself that mattered. It did matter. But by midnight, when I reread the copy of what I had signed, I saw the line I had skimmed. The release allowed review of supporting property materials related to proposed financing. Proposed financing. My stomach dropped. I sat at the kitchen table with the page in front of me and whispered the first honest thing I had said all night. "Oh, Mara, what did you do?" By morning, Daniel's tone had changed. He was not nervous anymore. He was careful, which was worse. He made coffee. He asked Hannah about her volunteer meeting. He kissed my cheek before leaving a touch so light it felt practiced. Then Tessa texted me. "Glad the verification got signed. Daniel said you just needed time to calm down. I'm glad you're working together." I stood in the laundry room with a basket under one arm and read that message 3 times. Working together. That was how they were going to use it. I had not agreed to collateral. I had not agreed to pledge my mother's house. But I had signed one paper, and now they had a sentence they could stretch until it looked like cooperation. Daniel's phone buzzed on the kitchen island while he was outside taking another call. Hannah saw it before I did. The screen lit up with Tessa's name. "Did she sign the release?" Hannah looked at the phone, then at me, then at the back door where Daniel was pacing on the porch. I picked up the phone and turned it face down. Neither of us said anything. That was the first time my daughter heard Tessa's name in the wrong part of our house. At lunch, my supervisor asked if everything was okay at home. She said it gently. Too gently. I asked why. She looked uncomfortable. "Tessa mentioned you were under pressure." I just wanted to check in. I nodded like that was normal. Then I went to the restroom, locked myself in the last stall, and sat there until the automatic light clicked off. In the dark, I let myself say the thing I was afraid of. Maybe I did make it worse. Maybe Elaine was right, and I was blowing up Hannah's life because I could not stand Daniel touching something my mother left me. Maybe a good wife would have signed, fixed it later, kept the company alive, kept the peace. Then I thought about the notary stamp. My name already used. My signature now handed to them by me. The light clicked back on. I was still sitting there with my phone in my hand. I opened my email and sent Carter at the bank a short message. "Please send the complete collateral file, including prior drafts correspondence, and any material connected to my signed property verification release." Then I added one line. "For clarity, I have not signed any consent allowing the Carolina Beach property to be pledged." No emotion, no insult, no room for Daniel to call it hysteria. I hit send. That evening, Elaine came over with a casserole. That was how I knew they had moved from pressure to cleanup. Elaine cooked when she wanted to enter a room as the victim and leave someone else feeling rude. She set the dish on my counter. I thought you might not feel like cooking. It's 4 p.m. Then you can freeze it. She slid a cream envelope toward me. The bank cleaned up the consent page. No stamp this time. Since you signed the verification, this should be simple now. There it was. I opened the envelope. The new consent form was blank where the notary had been. Cleaner, safer looking. But the property description was still there. My duplex, my mother's address, their loan. I signed a verification release, I said. Not this. Elaine sighed. You signed because you understood the property needed to be reviewed. I signed because Daniel told me it didn't put the duplex in the loan. Maybe you misunderstood. I looked at her. That was the ugliest sentence in the room. Maybe you misunderstood. Not Daniel lied. Not we pushed too hard. Not why was a notary stamp already there. Just my memory softened and moved out of the way. Elaine stepped closer. Harbor House is not just Daniel's pride. Men have paychecks tied to this. Families, workers. You can't pull one thread and act shocked when the whole thing comes apart. My mother's house is not a thread. It's been sitting there for years. I heard Daniel's voice in hers. Or maybe he had learned it from her. Sat there, I asked. Elaine's face hardened. That little place has done nothing for this family compared to what Daniel has built. I felt something flare hot behind my eyes. That little place paid for Hannah's college fund. And Daniel's company paid for the roof over her head. I wanted to slap the envelope off the counter. I did not. But I wanted to. That mattered because for 1 second I understood how easy it would be to give them the emotional wife they wanted. Instead, I folded the form and pushed it back. I'm not signing. Elaine looked toward the stairs. Hannah was home. Her bedroom door was cracked open. Elaine raised her voice just enough. I hope your daughter never thinks you chose a rental over her father. Hannah's door closed.
That one got through.
After Elaine left, I went upstairs. Hannah was sitting on her bed, knees pulled to her chest, pretending to look at her laptop. Mom, she said, why does Tessa care whether you signed something? I sat beside her. That question hurt more than if she had yelled. I don't know everything yet. Is Dad lying? I wanted to say no. I wanted to protect her with a lie, because for years that had been my favorite bad habit. Instead, my voice broke. I don't know how bad it is yet. Hannah stared at me. I covered my face with both hands. I signed something I shouldn't have.
She was quiet for a long time.
Because of me. I looked up fast. No, baby. Because I was scared and tired, and I wanted one night where nobody fought in front of you. That was the truth. It was not pretty. It did not make me proud. But it was mine. Hannah leaned into me. I held her and felt how young she still was under all that 17-year-old armor. Downstairs, my phone buzzed. Daniel! I did not answer. I was done letting his timing decide mine. Later that night, after Hannah went to sleep, I opened the county records website. Slow, ugly, familiar. I searched Harbor House, then Whitcomb Coastal, then Daniel's name. Most of it looked normal. Then I found a notice from Vale Lumber Supply. The delivery address was not Harbor House. It was a unit on Masonboro Loop. The owner was D&T Holdings.
D&T.
Daniel and Tessa. I stared at the screen. Upstairs, Daniel laughed softly at something on his phone. This time, I did not sit there and wonder. I grabbed my keys. Masonboro Loop was 20 minutes away if you hit the lights right. I did not hit them right. Every red light felt personal. I told myself I was only going to look. That was what scared people tell themselves before they do something brave or stupid. I did not know which one this was yet. The address belonged to a half-finished condo building near the water, not fancy enough to be rich, too clean to be cheap. Plastic still covered some of the windows. A dumpster sat near the curb. A white work truck was parked crooked by the entrance. I parked across the street under a live oak and turned off my headlights. My hands were shaking again. I let them. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then a delivery truck pulled up. Valley Lumber Supply. I knew the logo from Nolan Vale's yard, from school fundraisers, from invoices I had seen in Daniel's office when I used to help clean up his paperwork for free. 2 men got out and opened the back. Interior doors, trim boxes wrapped in plastic. Then the front door of the unit opened. Daniel stepped out. No hard hat, no contractor clipboard, just jeans, a dark shirt, and the same private phone smile I had seen in my kitchen. Tessa came out behind him with a clipboard in her hand. I stopped breathing for a second. She signed for the delivery. Daniel put one hand on the small of her back as they turned toward the unit. It was not a kiss. It did not need to be. I picked up my phone and took pictures through the windshield. The first one was blurry because my hand jerked. The second caught Tessa signing. The third caught Daniel beside her, his hand on her back, the delivery truck logo visible behind them. Then Tessa laughed at something he said. A small laugh, familiar, easy. That hurt more than the hand. I sat in my car and watched them carry one box inside together. Not like a contractor and a bookkeeper. Like people setting up a place they expected to use. My phone buzzed. Daniel. I declined it. A text came in. Where are you? I looked at the condo door. Tessa was still inside. For a second, I almost typed home soon. Old habit.
Smooth it over. Buy time. Stay normal.
Then I looked at the photo on my phone. Number. I drove straight to Vale Lumber Supply. Nolan Vale was locking up when I pulled in. He looked surprised to see me, then saw my face. What happened? I held up my phone. I need you to tell me if this is your delivery. We stood under the yellow security light by his office while he looked at the photos. He did not speak for a while. That's my truck, he said. And Tessa. His jaw tightened. That's my wife. The words came out flat, too flat. I'm sorry, I said. He shook his head once, like sorry was not a useful tool. He unlocked the office and brought me inside. His system showed the delivery under Harbor House, but the address was Masonboro Loop. Approved by Tessa's admin login, paid through Daniel's project account. Small enough to slide through, clear enough to stink. Nolan printed the record and the delivery receipt. He did not find the betrayal for me. I had brought it to him. That mattered. I need to call my attorney, he said. So do I. He looked at me, eyes tired. Did you know about them? Number. He nodded. I watched him grip the edge of the desk. I had come for confirmation, not comfort. Still, there was something awful about seeing another person arrive at the same wreck from a different road. I want to be clear, I said. He looked up. My marriage is mine. My mother's duplex is mine. What I decide about Daniel is mine.
Okay.
But your account, Tessa's login, and these deliveries affect you too. If we use this, we talk first. No surprises. He nodded slowly. Fair. On my way home, I pulled into a pharmacy parking lot because my chest hurt. I wanted my mother. I wanted to call her and hear her say, Baby, I told you not to let that man touch your papers. Instead, I sat in the car with 3 photos on my phone, one signed release I regretted, and a marriage that suddenly looked like a room Daniel had already packed behind my back. When I got home, Daniel was in the kitchen.
Where were you?
He asked. I set my purse down. Out. Doing what? I looked at him, finding out what I signed. For the first time, he did not have a quick answer. Eleanor Price's office was above a pharmacy on Market Street. My mother had used her for years because Eleanor did not decorate the truth. She wore gray suits, kept peppermints in a glass bowl, and looked at bad documents like they had personally insulted her. I gave her everything. The notarized consent page, the clean consent page Elaine brought over, the property verification release I had signed, the Masonboro photos, the Vale delivery record Nolan confirmed, the email from Tessa to Carter, which arrived in the bank file that morning. Daniel asked me to help keep the packet moving. Mara can get overwhelmed when paperwork moves fast, but she understands this is necessary. Eleanor read that line twice. Then she looked at me. She wrote this before you questioned the notary page.
Yes.
And after you signed the verification release? No, before. Eleanor placed the email on the desk. She was setting up your reaction before you had one. I knew that already. Hearing it out loud still made my stomach twist. Then Eleanor picked up the page I had signed. This was a mistake. I closed my eyes. There it was. Not comfort, not reassurance. The truth. I know. It gives them something to point at. Not enough to win, but enough to muddy the room. I swallowed. Did I ruin it?
Number.
My eyes burned. She leaned back. You made it harder. Not impossible. That was when I broke. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just my hand over my mouth, my shoulders caving in, and one stupid sentence falling out. I signed it because Hannah was standing there. Eleanor did not interrupt. I didn't want her to hear us fight about money again. I didn't want to be the mother who blew up the house over a form, and now they're using it like I agreed. Eleanor pushed the tissue box toward me. I hated needing it. After a minute, she said, Mara, listen to me. You signed permission to verify property information. You did not sign permission to pledge the property. Those are not the same thing. I know that.
Then say it like you know it.
I looked at her. She tapped the paper. They will say, you cooperated. You will say exactly what you signed. They will say, you knew. You will say exactly what you did not sign. They will say, you were emotional. You will show the email proving they planned to call you emotional before you spoke. My breathing slowed. And the photos I asked, you took them.
Yes.
Good. That word did more for me than comfort. Good. Not poor thing, not I'm sorry. Good. For the first time since the bank, I felt something under the fear. Not confidence. Direction. That evening, Daniel tried one more time. He found me in the kitchen cutting onions for a dinner I did not want to eat. He stood by the island phone in hand voice low. Did you go to Masonboro? He waited. Mara.
Yes.
The silence after that was ugly. You followed me. I put the knife down flat. You used my name. His face darkened.
That is not the same thing.
No, mine was legal. Yours wasn't. He stepped closer. You don't know what you're talking about. I know Tessa signed for doors at a condo paid under Harbor House. His mouth opened, then closed.
I know you told me the release didn't put my duplex in the loan.
It didn't.
You used it to show I was cooperating.
He looked toward the stairs. Keep your voice down. I laughed once. I could not help it. Of all the things he cared about, my volume was still near the top. Hannah came down, then slow one hand on the railing. Mom, she said, looking at Daniel now. Why does Tessa care whether you signed something?
Daniel snapped Hannah. She flinched.
I stepped between them without thinking. Don't bark at her because I found out. That was the first time Daniel looked truly cornered in our house. He grabbed his keys. This is insane, he said. No, I said. It's just not private anymore. He left. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the glass. Hannah stood at the bottom of the stairs, pale. I wanted to be steady for her. I wanted to be the kind of mother who had the right sentence ready. I did not.
So I told the truth.
I am scared. Her face broke. I'm scared too, she whispered. We stood there like that for a long time with onions on the cutting board and Daniel's flowers from 2 days ago dying in the trash can. The next morning, Nolan called.
My attorney says we can confirm the delivery record if the bank asks, he said. Only the part tied to the loan.
Good.
You sure about using the photos?
Yes. A pause. They show Tessa. They show Daniel too. I know. I looked at the trust folder on my table. We use what affects both of us. No surprises.
Agreed.
After we hung up, I opened the verification release again. For the first time, I did not stare at the signature like it was proof I had failed. I read the line above it.
Verify, not pledge.
That was the crack they had missed. The Monday meeting was moved to a smaller room in the back of the bank. No frosted glass, no coffee tray, no polite view of the street, just a long table, a printer against one wall, and a compliance manager named Denise Rowe, who looked like she had not laughed at a bank joke in 20 years. Daniel came in with Elaine and his attorney. Tessa arrived after them carrying her laptop bag and acting busy. Nolan came with his attorney. Eleanor sat beside me, opened her folder, and said nothing. Daniel tried to start like a man still in charge. "Thank you for meeting," he said. Mara had concerns about a clerical issue and were ready to correct it. Denise looked at him. "We'll decide what we're looking at." Daniel's attorney cleared his throat. "Our position is simple. No executed consent exists. The earlier page was a draft with formatting errors." Eleanor slid the notarized page across the table. "Drafts usually don't have notary stamps." Daniel looked at me. "Mara, this has gone far enough." I almost answered like a wife. I almost said, "Then tell the truth." Instead, I opened my folder.
"This is the property verification release I signed," I said.
Daniel's shoulders loosened a little. He thought I had just helped him. His attorney leaned forward. "Exactly. Mrs. Whitcomb did cooperate with the bank's review process." I nodded. "I did. I signed permission to verify property records and insurance. I did not sign permission to pledge my mother's house." I placed the verification release beside the notarized consent page. "You used the one page I signed to cover the one page I didn't." Daniel's face changed. "Elaine," whispered Mara. "No," Denise said. "Let her finish." That was the first shift. Small, sharp. I slid the trust clause forward. "The duplex cannot be pledged for business debt without independent written consent witnessed through my mother's attorney." That never happened. Daniel's attorney reached for his pen. "Mrs. Whitcomb, your understanding of the trust may not be complete." Eleanor looked at him. "It is complete enough for this room." He stopped writing. Then I placed Tessa's email on the table. She wrote this before I ever questioned the notary page. Denise picked it up. "Daniel asked me to help keep the packet moving. Mara can get overwhelmed when paperwork moves fast, but she understands this is necessary." I looked at Tessa. "You were calling me unstable before I knew there was something to react to." Tessa's mouth opened. No words came out. Daniel leaned back, jaw tight. "This is ridiculous." "No," I said. "This is the part you planned in case I did not behave." Denise turned to Daniel. "Who prepared the consent page?" No one answered. The printer clicked behind her. One page came out face down. Denise looked at Daniel again. "Mr. Whitcomb." Daniel glanced at Tessa. Too quick, too dumb. Tessa set down her coffee. "I helped assemble documents. Daniel asked me to keep the packet moving. That is normal in my role." I opened the next folder. "Then explain why my name was stamped by someone in Elaine's office when I was never there." Elaine gripped her purse. "She helps with paperwork," she said. "She stamped my name when I was never there." Daniel hit the table with his palm. "Enough." Denise did not raise her voice. "Sit down, Mr. Whitcomb." He froze. Then he sat. That was the second shift. Daniel obeyed because this was not my kitchen. He could not call Denise dramatic. He could not tell the bank compliance manager she was scaring people. He could not send his mother in with a casserole. Denise picked up the notarized page again. This time, she did not look at Daniel first. She looked at the stamp. "This is no longer a routine review," she said. Daniel's attorney straightened. Denise kept going. "This bank will be preserving the full preparation history of this notary block, the collateral schedule, and every version of this consent page. It will be referred to legal state notary licensing review and federal compliance if required." Elaine's face changed. Not much, but enough. For the first time, she looked less like a mother defending her son, and more like a woman who had let the wrong employee touch the wrong stamp. Daniel turned toward his attorney. "What does that mean?" His attorney did not answer fast enough. That was when I opened the next folder. "And that was not the only thing this loan was hiding," I said. I placed the first photo down. Vale lumber truck, Masonboro loop. Second photo, Tessa signing the clipboard. Third photo, Daniel beside her, his hand on her back. The room did not explode. It got smaller. Tessa stopped pretending to read something. Daniel stared at the photos like he could make them blurry by hating them. Nolan spoke only once. "That is my company's truck. The delivery record is real." Then he stopped. That was enough. I looked at Daniel. "You told me the loan was to keep Harbor House alive?" "It was." "You told me my release was only to verify records." "It was." "You told me Tessa was keeping the packet moving." "She was." I tapped the photo. "Then why was she signing for materials at a condo owned by D&T Holdings?" Daniel's attorney said, "Mrs. Whitcomb." I did not look at him. Daniel leaned forward, voice low. "Don't do this here." "There it is," I said. "That is the real problem. Not the page, not the stamp. Here." Elaine snapped. "This is exactly why this should have stayed inside the family." I turned to her. "You mean inside your office where Paula could stamp my name?" No one moved. I looked back at Daniel and put my finger on the photo of him outside Masonboro. "When were you going to tell me?" He said nothing. After I signed, still nothing. After the loan closed, his jaw moved. "Mara, after my mother's house helped pay for the place you were setting up with her." That one landed. Tessa looked down. Elaine closed her eyes. Daniel looked at me then, not at Denise, not at his lawyer. At me. For the first time in that room, he looked afraid of the person he had married. Not because I could shout, because I had finally stopped cleaning up the sentence for him. Tessa tried the soft voice. "Mara, I was concerned about you." I turned to her. "Concern is not consent." She swallowed. Elaine found her voice colder now. "That duplex has done nothing but sit there while Daniel tried to keep this family afloat." There it was. The sentence finally clean enough for everyone to hear. I looked at her, then at Daniel. He did not correct her. "My mother's place paid for Hannah's college account," I said. "It paid its taxes. It paid for its roof. It never asked Daniel for a dime." Daniel leaned forward, face tight. "You were happy enough when my company paid the bills. And you were happy enough when I fixed your permits, your insurance files, your tax folders, and your mistakes before anyone saw them." "Don't make yourself a martyr." "I'm not," I said. "I'm making myself unavailable." Tessa looked down. Daniel looked at her, and that was the third shift. Because he looked to Tessa before he looked to me. Only then did Denise stack the papers. "The bank is suspending this closing pending internal review. The Carolina Beach property will be removed from any collateral discussion unless valid consent is provided through proper channels. We will also review the preparation of the notarized page, the Masonboro loop materials, and all communications related to Mrs. Whitcomb's consent." Daniel's face drained. Elaine gripped her purse like it might float away. Tessa reached for her laptop bag. Denise stopped her. "Please leave all packet materials on the table." That was when Tessa looked scared. Not sad. Not sorry. Scared. Daniel turned to me. "Mara, don't." Just that. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I should have told you." Not "I never should have touched your mother's property." Don't. I put the bank pen beside the unsigned consent page. "I already didn't," I said. No one had a good answer to that. In the hallway, Nolan walked beside me but did not touch my arm. "We used the shared evidence," he said. "Yes. You okay?" I looked through the bank windows at Daniel standing beside Elaine's car, while Tessa stayed 5 steps away from him. Even now, they could not decide whether to look guilty together. "No," I said, "but I know what I signed now." Eleanor handed me the trust folder. "And what you did not?" she said. "The senior class fundraiser had been planned 6 months ago. If I skipped it, people would notice. If I showed up quiet, people would notice. If Tessa showed up and I did not, she would get the room first, and I already knew what she did with a room. So I went, not because I felt strong, because disappearing would have handed her the story. Tessa was already there when I arrived, standing near the auction table in a white blouse, hair-perfect binder in hand. I had to respect the nerve. The bank had frozen a loan with her fingerprints on it, and she still showed up to sort raffle tickets, like concern was still a costume that fit. For 15 minutes, she behaved like nothing had happened. She thanked volunteers. She checked auction sheets. She smiled at two mothers who had no idea they were watching a woman hold a room together with tape. Then she came to my end of the table. "I was worried about you," she said.
Same voice, same face.
I looked at the binder in her hands. "Concern is not consent." The woman beside us stopped sorting tickets. Tessa's eyes hardened. "Daniel told me things were already over." "Then you should have waited until they were." Her face flushed.
No one yelled. No one made a scene.
But the room felt different after that.
Tessa closed her binder and said she had another commitment. Nobody followed her out.
By the end of that week, Paula no longer worked in Elaine's office. Harbor House missed its closing window. Daniel's attorney sent letters with careful words like misunderstanding and no admission. Eleanor answered with fewer words.
Then Daniel came to the duplex.
I was standing in the empty back unit with a cardboard box of tenant keys on the counter when I heard his truck pull up. The place was between renters, so every sound carried. The step on the porch, the knock, the second knock harder. I opened the door but stayed inside.
"You changed the lock," he said.
The old tenant lost a key. He looked past me into the unit.
"Can I come in? Number?"
That bothered him. I could see it. Daniel was not used to being kept outside a place connected to me.
But this place had never belonged to him. "We need to talk," he said.
"We are." He glanced down the street, worried about neighbors, still protecting the wrong thing. "The bank review is going to kill Harbor House. The page did that."
"You could stop it."
I could lie. That's different. His mouth tightened. Tessa got in my head. I stared at him. That was his opening move. Not the loan, not the stamp, not the condo. Tessa got in my head. "You're really starting there."
He looked tired, smaller in daylight. I hated that part of me noticed. It wasn't supposed to go this far.
How far was it supposed to go?
He rubbed both hands over his face. "We were going to replace the collateral once the project stabilized." "With what?"
He did not answer. I nodded. That's what I thought. He stepped closer. "Mara, I was drowning." "And you grabbed my mother's house?" "I grabbed what could save us."
"No," I said. "You grabbed what could save you?"
He looked at the porch floor. Paint was peeling near his boot. He had promised to fix that 3 springs in a row. I picked up the envelope from the small table by the door. "This is my attorney's card. Anything about the marriage goes through her?" His eyes moved to the envelope.
"You're filing."
"Yes, Mara. My decision," I said.
"Not the bank's, not Nolan's, not your mother's. Mine." He took the envelope, but he did not leave.
"What about us?" I looked at him for a long second. The awful thing was, I remembered us. The real parts. The man who once drove through a storm to fix my mother's water heater. The young father who slept on Hannah's nursery floor when she had a fever. The husband who used to bring me coffee when I worked late. Those things happened. That was why this hurt. "You moved into a future without me," I said. "You just wanted my signature to help pay for it." His face cracked. Not enough, but enough for me to know he understood. He left without asking for a hug.
That was something.
I signed the divorce petition on a Wednesday afternoon. The pen felt normal. That surprised me. I had cried plenty before then. In the laundry room, in the shower. Once in a hardware store parking lot because I saw the exact blue paint Daniel and I had argued about when Hannah was little. Grief is stupid like that. It does not show up for the big scene. It waits next to paint samples. But when I signed, I did not cry. I looked at my name on the line and thought of the verification release I should not have signed. Then I thought of the bank pen I had pushed back unused.
Both things were true. I had made a mistake. I had also stopped one.
That evening, I drove to the duplex alone. The back unit was empty. No furniture, no voices. Just bare floors, old cabinets, and the faint smell of lemon cleaner from the last tenant. The ocean was not visible from the porch, but the air still carried salt when the wind moved right. I stood in the kitchen and opened the small lockbox in the drawer. Inside were 2 spare tenant keys, a folded instruction sheet, and the faded key tag my mother had written years ago.
Back unit. Her handwriting leaned to the right. Impatient. Clear. On my own key ring, Daniel's house key still hung beside the duplex key. I had not meant to leave it there that long. Maybe I was busy. Maybe I was not ready. Maybe healing is mostly noticing what you forgot to remove.
I worked the key off the ring. It caught under my fingernail. For a second, I almost gave up and told myself I would do it later. Then it came loose.
The duplex key stayed. Daniel's key went into a small envelope from my purse. I wrote his name on the front. No note, no explanation. The key was enough. I drove to my lawyer's office after dark. The pharmacy downstairs had already closed. The hallway smelled like floor polish. I slid the envelope through the mail slot. The key hit the floor inside with a small metal sound. Not loud, final. When I got home, Hannah was sitting on the stairs in pajama pants and one of my old sweatshirts. "Are we going to be okay?" she asked. I sat beside her. "Not tonight," I said, "but yes." She leaned her head on my shoulder. For once, I did not try to make the answer prettier than it was. Later, after Hannah went to bed, I sat at my desk with the unused bank pen in front of me. I had kept it without meaning to. Not as a trophy. I did not need trophies from that year. For a while, I thought the pen reminded me that I had said no. But that was not the whole truth.
I had said no at the bank. Then I had gone home and signed a different page because I was scared, tired, and trying to keep my daughter from hearing her parents fall apart in the kitchen.
That mattered too. I did not want to turn myself into a cleaner version of what happened. I made a mistake. Then I fixed what I could. That was the part I needed to remember. A mistake is not the same as surrender. Healing did not mean I never stumbled. It meant I stopped letting one bad signature become the rest of my life. I opened the drawer and placed the pen inside. Small thing. Plastic body. Blue ink. Nothing special. But I still remembered how it felt when I pushed it back to the middle of that table unused. That was not the first perfect number. It was the first no I kept, and my name stayed mine.